Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of the Money Pros. I'm Oliver Tutt, Certified Financial Planner Practitioner, and I'll be your host for the next half hour as we talk about all the issues related to your money, how to make it, how to keep it, and hopefully how to help it grow. Let me give you a rundown on what we've got in store for today's show. First up, we're going to be talking about investment clubs. Now, many of you probably heard of the concept of investment clubs, but this one is for the super wealthy, and I'm going to share with you some tips that were gleaned from a recent account of a meeting at this particular investment club. So you might want to stay tuned for that. We're going to be joined by our real estate money pro, none other than Chad Kritzas with Keller Williams Realty. We're going to be talking about something a little bit out of the box. That's buying not a first home, but a second home. If you should be so lucky as to get a vacation home or acquire a second home, what are some of the things you need to consider? Chad's going to fill us in on some of the details with that. We're also going to be talking about financial New Year's resolutions. This is the first show we're going to be taping here in 2017, so let me say Happy New Year to all of you that are watching and ask you the question, did you make a financial New Year's resolution? If you didn't, I have some suggestions on ones you might want to consider because it is not too late. And finally, we do have a viewer question on 529 plans for college savings, so we're going to get to that at the end of the show. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So let's talk a little bit about investment clubs. Now, when I think of investment clubs, I think of a bunch of guys maybe sitting around a table, having a couple glasses of scotch and talking about stocks and bonds, or another group talking about what the best mutual fund of the day is, or what the different investment ideas are. And it's usually a pretty social gathering, very informal, and a mix of sort of our neighbors and our friends and the people that we know. But there are a lot of different kinds of investment clubs, and some are really targeted exclusively toward the ultra wealthy, those people with $5, $10, $100 million or more to invest. And as you would imagine, they are particularly protective of their wealth, and these clubs can be pretty exclusive. So I wanted to share with you some information from one that I learned about and some of the things that they talk about in the club. So the one that I became familiar with through an article that I read recently is one called Tiger 21. And Tiger 21 is actually an acronym, stands for the Investment Group for Enhanced Results in the 21st Century. Now, this investment club is not just a matter of filling out an application. You also have to write a check to them for $30,000 per year. Now, if you were to put that in terms of a percentage of your wealth, that would mean at 1% you have at least $3 million in investable assets, but in most cases the members of this club have $10 or more million in investment assets. And one of the interesting things about this club is membership, in addition to participating in the meetings and of course writing that sizable check every year, is you have to participate in what they call a portfolio defense, where you get in front of the other members of the club. And by the way, this takes place on Manhattan's Upper East Side, for those of you that might be curious. You have to get in front of the other members of the club and defend your portfolio, explain why you have what you have on your balance sheet, and let other members pick it apart. So, during a recent portfolio defense, here were some of the issues that were brought up for a recent member. I thought it would be interesting to share those with our Money Pros viewers. So without further ado, let's throw that up on the screen. First one is consolidate your accounts. So the advice that was given to this particular member was they had too many accounts, 8 or 9 different bank accounts. I think in this particular anecdote, 12 different brokerage accounts. That's a lot. As I tell people all the time, it's hard enough to babysit 3 or 4 kids, but if you have them in 3 or 4 different houses, it becomes an impossible task. So consolidating your accounts is excellent advice. Next piece of advice that was given to a member, keep some cash on hand. Now, I give this advice a lot as a financial planner, but I give it generally for different reasons. Oftentimes you are advising people to hold on to cash in case of emergencies. But in this case, for the ultra wealthy, they're more interested in hanging on to cash so that they have an opportunity to capture different investment opportunities. Because things come their way, they want to make sure that they're liquid so that they can have an opportunity to invest. Next one, look for blind spots. Sometimes it's not about what you have in your portfolio, but the question about what is missing. Do you have real estate? Do you have traditional stocks? Do you have commodities? Do you have private lending? Do you have all those things that make sense? Look for what's missing in your portfolio and stay not as focused on what you actually have. And then finally, and this is an important lesson for all of us, it's never too late. Interestingly enough, it was reported that most of the members of this club acquired the vast majority of their wealth much later in life, in some cases in their 50s and 60s and beyond. So they were successful business owners, earned quite a bit of money, but they really made the majority of their money later in life. So it's never too late for you to start paying attention to your net worth and your portfolio. All right, that's a little bit of advice from the ultra wealthy. Up next, Chad Kritzas from Keller Williams Realty. We're going to be talking about buying a vacation home. Stay with us. There's more to come. Welcome back to the Money Pros. I'm joined by our real estate money pro, Chad Kritzas, Keller Williams Realty. Happy New Year.
You too. Oliver.
Great to have you back for the beginning of the year.
Awesome.
So we're going to be talking about, I wish this was advice I could use personally, candidly, but I'm struggling to pay for my first house. So, but there are people out there, and we're talking about vacation homes. It's not, you know, we talked in the earlier segment about the super wealthy. A lot of people buy second homes that are very modest in a lot of different areas. So it's really not that exclusive a thing for a lot of people. So I think it probably affects a lot of people out there. Before we leap into the vacation home topic, though, whenever we have you, we always like to get an update on what's going on in the real estate market. Here we are at the beginning of 2017, so it's a great opportunity to look back at 2016. Wondering if you could share any details on how things were for Rhode Island and the surrounding areas, and let us know what's going on.
A great year, 2016. I think probably the best that we've seen since back to 05, 06. So at the time that we're filming this, the numbers have just come out for November, so December's numbers haven't been released yet. Kind of astounding numbers. Sales volume in the state of Rhode Island, single-family homes, 19% higher than they were the previous November, and prices up 11%. Now, what we're seeing is inventory down, and we talked about this 2 episodes ago, where the shift in this market isn't going to be based on too much inventory, it's going to be based on lack of inventory. So they're actually predicting potentially a quiet first quarter just because there's less homes hitting the market for sale right now, which is, you know, amazing, because I think with the inventory as low as it is, it's a great time to sell a house. Multiple offers, selling in a week, you know, full price. We're seeing that every day right now.
So the fact that there's lower inventory, that's great for sellers and great for prices, but if you're focused on just home sales volume, what you're saying is it's entirely possible we see a dip in the numbers just because you can't sell something if it's not for sale, and if there's not a lot of inventory, the volume of sales might just go down. But it sounds like 2016 was really a spectacular year, and to say that it's going back to the level of 2005, I mean, that's would suggest we are certainly at a mostly full recovery from the real estate crisis in 2008. Would you say that's
that was the highest number of sales in November in 12 years. So, I mean, if you back up the dates, it's right up 2004.
Can't argue with that.
Nope.
All right, so let's talk about, maybe it's a great time then to talk about, but we've all set on our first house, let's talk about the next one. So let's talk a little bit about buying a vacation home. One of the things I'm interested in is, you know, we talk a lot about buying that first home, and we talk about the criteria of, you know, schools and neighborhoods and taxes and, you know, all the details. I imagine some of that crosses over to buying a vacation home and other things don't. So how does buying a second home in terms of the decision and the process differ from buying that first home, that primary residence?
Well, you actually just hit a little bit on it. Some of the things that are very important, and you have a number of children, so, you know, your primary residence and your school system and your commute to your office are going to be very important. When you're talking about a second home, those things probably aren't a big factor, right? And if your kids aren't going to be going to school in, say, Newport, you don't really care what the Newport school system is like, right? Or where your commute to your office is. You know, it may be a little bit, you know, how long does it take my family to get to our house? But predominantly the big things like school systems, office commutes, those kind of things are going to be less of a factor. Now the other thing is, you know, you may not need as much square footage, right? You may not need the oversized 3-car garage and the acre and a half. You know, if it's just a getaway, you know, a smaller yard, backyard barbecues, or less square footage, it could be very sufficient for you.
So your particular market specialty is Aquidneck Island, Newport. I mean, that's not an area, East Bay, that's unfamiliar with vacation home purchases. So this is something you have some experience with. Do you find people become less picky about the details, or more picky when they're looking for a vacation home versus a primary residence?
You could argue either one.
So it's just the details change, but they're not less concerned with them, I guess.
Right, and another thing, you see this a lot of time this time of year. Most of the big sales I've ever done, you know, $5 million, $3 million sales, and I'm completely generalizing right now. A lot of those I've done in January and February. Now the reason for that is, even if it's a brand new house or a young home, people still want to do their own touches, Right, so we sold this $5 million, 9,000 square foot house with this beautiful kitchen, and they ripped the whole kitchen out. I mean, the granite that was sitting on the curb was probably more than my car, and they did this because they wanted to buy it in January because they wanted to be in for Memorial Day. So this time of year specifically, you see a lot of second home purchases because any of the renovations or paint jobs or any of the stuff they're going to do, it has to be done now or in the spring to be in for summer.
So with a vacation home, I'm thinking with a primary residence now, there are plenty of situations where people move from out of state, take new jobs, things like that, and they're buying a primary residence outside of their area. But a lot of primary residence purchases are upgrades. The person that is moving is already familiar with the area. They're just moving to maybe a different neighborhood or a bigger home or something like that. Vacation homes are often out of the area. It's one of the purposes of the vacation, right? How do you get familiar with the real estate market in an area that you're not already inhabiting and might just have some more innate familiarity with in the case of a primary residence purchase?
Well, I think having the right agent, somebody that can send you comparable sales so you can see what's going on. I mean, any of us can go on a search engine and see what's for sale. That's very easy, right? Any of the big search engines. The difference is what's actually selling and at what prices, right? Because if you overprice something that sits on the market, that's not a true value of your local market. Hopefully that person, that family has vacationed there, they know the area a little bit, but you really need to get knowledgeable on what's been selling in the area so that you can determine the price correctly and not overpay for something just out of emotion. Speaking
of the vacation, do you find that people that are buying the vacation home have vacationed in the area before, or can it be more of a sort of a spur of the moment decision, like, hey, we'd like to explore this area, we're going to buy a house here?
Well, I think they're probably more serious if they've vacationed there before. They rent a house for a month or 2 months for a couple summers, really get to know the area. We have people that have second homes that actually are renting other homes in the same area just to get different feel of neighborhoods, get ready to sell one and move over to this neighborhood. So it's kind of a broad dynamic.
So you've mentioned a couple of times the importance of, and we would certainly want to play up the importance of the real estate agent in this equation. There's no secret there. We've talked about finding an agent in the past related to primary residence. Obviously, your referral base and things like that are going to be a critical role there. When you're buying a vacation home, it's somewhere out of the area. You might not have the same touch points for referrals and things like that for finding a real estate agent. Do you have suggestions for us on how we would, seek out an agent if it's in an area, 100 miles or so from where we live?
Absolutely. So lean on whatever agent you're working with at home, right? So I actually got an email this morning, a client of mine looking for a place in Tucson, Arizona. So I'll do some research for him today, find him a very strong agent. I'll make sure that the referral I send him, is experienced and is positive, because I don't want to send him a referral of an agent that does a horrible job, because then it makes us look bad.
In some cases, might you even talk to that agent?
Oh, absolutely. I'll have a conversation with him first. I'll call an office down there, speak to the broker, find the right agent, and then put them together. There's other things. You can go on like the Zillow or the realtor.coms where they have reviews. Read the reviews. Now, obviously, you hope you don't have a bunch of negative reviews, so you're going to get a lot of positives, but you'll see how many reviews they have, and that will also show you the agent's sales volume. Right? If they've only sold one house in 2 years, how well are they going to do negotiating for you?
What are some other tools that you might be familiar with online or otherwise that might be useful in the whole process of home search, finding an agent, what have you?
So I'm a big fan of two websites, realtor.com, and if you're coming to Rhode Island, riliving.com. The reason I say that is because those two websites are direct feeds from MLS. Right? And you have the Zillow and the Trulia and the Homes and all these other websites, but they tend to be less accurate. Now, somebody might hate me saying that, but if you Google it, there's actually an article, the CEO of Zillow sold his house for 40% less than his Zestimate. Right, so you say, well, my Zestimate says my house is worth $500,000 when it's really worth $350,000. So I actually posted on Facebook last week, the CEO of Zillow sold his home for 40% less than his Zestimate.
So people love Zillow, but I mean I could see that being even more painful in the other direction if you think that the value of your home is something on Zillow, and rather than being able to sell it for less, you could have in fact sold it for more.
Absolutely.
Now that really starts to cost you some money.
But back to why I need a good agent.
You mentioned realtor.com and RI Living. How do people typically use those in the home search?
Well, you got to look at the criteria you're looking for, kind of narrow it down once again, and lean on your agent to see what's sold in those areas. So if you want to say, you mentioned Aquidneck Island, if I want to be in Middletown by the beaches versus downtown Newport in the city, you got to see what's selling in that specific area. You need to figure out the inventory and what's actually closed.
Another aspect of vacation home buying is the issue of whether or not it's going to become a rental property. For some people, they're going to buy it and they're going to live in it exclusively when they have the opportunity. For others, they can only swing it if they can rent it for part of the time. Are there different considerations for selecting a house if it's going to be all yours versus if you're contemplating it being a rental, and how should you sort of proceed with that equation?
Well, there's a number of factors. Once again, you need to know the area. So let's just use an example. Let's say certain neighborhoods you don't have off-street parking. What streets can you park on with a permit? So you need to know parking, and you need to know whether if I want to buy a one-bedroom condo for a getaway and I want to try and rent it, and I'm trying to expand to the masses, right? They might want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, not a little 1-bedroom getaway. So you really, if you're going to be renting it, it's kind of a different animal, right? It's less what works for you, but more about what works if you're marketing it. Just like anything else you're trying to sell. I mean, you need to be able to sell it and get people to apply for it.
Last question, we've only got about 15 seconds left, but is financing different for vacation homes and primary residences? And if so, what are some of the quick differences?
Vacation homes, I mean, as long as you're going to use it specifically as a vacation home, it's similar. You can do a 10% down, low interest rate. If you're going to rent that house even one day a year, it's now an investment property, so that's 20, 25% down, probably a higher interest rate.
So you're going to want to talk to your lender about that as well.
Absolutely.
All right, Chad, as always,
Thanks.
great advice. Happy New Year once
Happy New Year.
again.
Thank you.
All right, up next, we're going to be talking about some New Year's resolutions. If you haven't made a financial one, I've got some suggestions. Stay with us. There's more to come. Welcome back to the Money Pros. So with the New Year edition here of the Money Pros, I wanted to talk about some financial New Year's resolutions. So they're among the most common New Year's resolutions, I suppose. Things about money and things about relationships and things about weight loss would be among the most common. And I noticed a distinct uptick in my phone volume around the first of the year as clients, prospective clients, want to talk about their money. So it's no surprise. But it's not too late to make a New Year's financial resolution if you haven't already done so. And I have some suggestions on some different ones you might consider. And I would point out right at the top of this list that if you did one of these, it would significantly improve your finances. And any one of these to initiate probably wouldn't take you more than about 20 minutes or half an hour. It's just a matter of gathering up the will and taking the time to do it and putting yourself in a better financial position for the remainder of the year. All right, so without further ado, let's get to my list of suggested New Year's financial resolutions. First up, examine your debt. Take a look at the money you owe other people and institutions. Do you have a mortgage? Do you have a car loan? Do you have credit card balances? What types of debt do you have? And rank the debt based on the debt that you want to pay off the quickest. Rank it based on, and you can do a couple of different lists, right? You can also rank it based on what has the highest interest rate. And then make a plan, starting at the top, to pay off that debt. You might have a student loan that you're determined to get rid of. You might have credit card balances that you want to consolidate. You might have a car loan that you want to pay off early. Start thinking about that and make a plan to make it happen. It could just be a matter of coming up with an increased payment schedule. It could be a matter of a number of things. But start with listing it out, considering it, and ranking it on a few different criteria to determine which things you want to get rid of, because getting rid of debt is only going to boost your personal net worth. Next up, stash some cash. Now, we talked about in an earlier segment how the ultra-wealthy view having some cash on hand. This doesn't have to be complicated. There's about 100 different ways you can do it. You can set it up an automatic contribution out of your paycheck to a bank account. You can have money pulled out to go into an online account out of your checking account. You know what? You could even take $50 a month and stick it in an envelope, or $10 a month, or $5 a week, or whatever you want to do. Stick it in an envelope and stick it in your sock drawer. Anything you do to accumulate a little bit of cash is going to do a few things. One, it's going to be on hand money that you don't need to look to a credit card for, but it's also going to make you feel better. There's a lot of research that suggests that having cash on hand simply gives you a better attitude about your personal finances, and if nothing else, that's worth the price of admission. Next, get a copy of your credit report. You can go to annualcreditreport.com. That is the only website authorized by the federal government to give you a free copy of your credit report every year. Take a look at it, see what your credit score is, see what's reported on there, see if there are any errors. If there are errors, write to the credit reporting agency and tell them what the error is. Make an effort to improve your credit record. Next, bump up your retirement savings. Do you have an IRA? Think about making an extra contribution to it this year. Do you have a 401k? Are you maxing out that contribution? Think about going online and increasing your contribution by even $10 or $15 a pay period. Every little bit helps, and it's not hard to do. You know that it will only take you a few minutes to figure it out and to get it done. And then finally, start thinking about planning for college. If you have kids, it doesn't matter how old they are. It's never too late to start savings, but certainly if they're young, now is the time. You will be extremely grateful for following this advice if you hear me now and you turn around and you go and open up any kind of account. It doesn't matter what it is, earmark it for college. All right, those are some suggestions on financial New Year's resolutions. Up next, we're going to answer a question from a viewer on 529 plans. Stay with us, there's more to come. Welcome back to the Money Pros viewer question time, and a great one because we were just talking about college savings. We had a viewer that writes in, I want to set up a 529 college savings plan for my son. I live in Rhode Island, but the Rhode Island plan doesn't get good reviews. Should I use another state plan, and if so, which one? Well, it's a great question, and this is something that I would consider. Rhode Island has recently overhauled their 529 plan. It used to be managed by Alliance Bernstein. It's now managed by Invesco with a separate third-party servicing organization. And ratings recently have gone up substantially. Now, it's a little too soon to tell if the investment performance is going to turn around the way we hope it would, but I have new hope that the Rhode Island plan will return to its former glory. So I wouldn't be shy to use it. And the other advantage to using the Rhode Island plan is you can deduct up to $1,000 of your contribution to the 529 plan on your state tax return. You cannot do that if you use another state's 529 plan. Having said that, I also like the Massachusetts and New Hampshire plans that are run by Fidelity because they have extremely low-cost funds. So if you don't want the Rhode Island one, there's a couple others to consider. That's it for today's show. Thank you very much for watching. If you have a question for me, you can go on our website. You can also email me, moneypros@foxprovidence.com. We'll look forward to hearing from you. And thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time right here on the Money Pros. Happy New Year, folks.